Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to another one in my canal series. This one is another one on my update. Yay, here we go again. Another update on the Stroudwater and Thames and Severn canals, the Cotswold Canals of course. We're going to be looking today lots of different things where restoration has taken place throughout the whole length from Sewell Junction right down to Inglesham. Well, not all those places, but all points in between. But there's lots of things been happening. I hope to be bringing you some of that. And all the latest news have been happening with the Cotswold Canals Trust. It's been about 4 months since the last update, 14, so there's been quite a bit that's been happening. I'm also going to be bringing you the latest that's been happening with the planning permission to do with bringing back the missing mile. So that'll be coming later in the video. So I hope you can join me today here on West Country Wanderings on the Stroudwater and Thames and Severn canals. Now, Daneway Basin Lock, sometimes known as Daneway Lower Lock, was designed to take the Thames barges. So it's actually 90 feet long and 13 feet wide. I'll put what that is in normal measurements in the subtitles below. So yeah, it's actually restored from the end of 2022 right through into the spring and early summer of 2023, and it does really look rather magnificent. It's the penultimate one on the long climb up from the town of Stroud before you get to the portal of Sapperton Tunnel as well. So on this side now you've got a fantastic view of Daneway Lower Basin. This is the first time it's been visible so clearly with all the brickwork that surrounds it, including that tremendous Daneway Bridge, which really does look rather magnificent from this angle. And just to the right of that is a wharf cottage as well, which has of course been restored. Isn't that magnificent? So on this side here you can really see the huge basin. Obviously it is private land, so if you do come here please be mindful of that, and I have been given special permission today to come in to film this, so please don't wander in yourself. There is a large sturdy grey metal fence which gives you the footpath access, but you can get a really good view of it from the footpath, so please don't wander in. As I say, I have been given very kindly permission here today. But yeah, it's wonderful to be able to see the basin that's behind here as well as the magnificent lock in front of me. Let's just have a bit of a closer look at that before we head on. So from this angle here you can really see the restoration work that's taken place by the owner of Wharf Cottage and the amount of hard work, determination that he's put into doing this on himself, with that new fence that protects the footpath there. But so I'm now filming this from the other side, from the Wharf Cottage side, but it is private, but I thought I'd share this with you here. And what a wonderful, magnificent restoration that's taken place. Now the lock here at Daneway Lower Basin was actually modified around 1840, 1841. In fact, the lock was shortened. I'm not exactly sure by how much, probably about 10 to 15 feet or so. And the reason it was done that was as a water saving measure to save the water leaking out of the lock. We've come across this problem a lot, of course, on the Thames and Severn Canal. The water has been leaching out due to the nature of the rock. You'll also notice that it used to be rock and stone that lined this basin here, but now it's mainly brick, and we think that's a late 19th century, early 20th century modification, perhaps around the time when Gloucestershire County Council took over management of the Thames and Severn Canal. Well, that was terrific to get permission from the owner of Wharf Cottage, being showed and given some more information about what he's done off his own back to get this lock here, Daneway Lower Lock, restored. And it's been tremendous work. As I say, he is in negotiations with the Cotswold Canals Trust to do some more work as well. But I'd like to thank the owner of the cottage here to give me special permission to go inside and have a closer look over on that side with the little bridge he's made across there, across the bed of the Thames and Severn Canal. We're going to continue on now. We're going to go on to a place called Ewan, I think that's how it's pronounced, where there is a small section of the Thames and Severn Canal that's currently in water. We're going to have a look at that, and I'll tell you some more information about what's been happening elsewhere with restoration on the Cotswold Canals here on West Country Wanderings. So I've now moved round from the Daneway site just outside the village of Sapperton to close to a little village called Ewan, which actually lies on the River Thames. No, not the Severn, the Thames, of course, Thames and Severn. So it is flowing. As I went through there, you could actually see the Thames flowing really well. Often it's dry in that section there. The source of the River Thames is just about 1.5 miles where I'm currently standing, just outside the village of Kemble, also close by. The reason I've come here, this is not a restoration project, it's just showing you another section of the Thames and Severn Canal that we've not yet covered here on the Canal Updates. This section here is at Park Lees Bridge. Sadly, the bridge has long gone there. I imagine it would have been a humped back bridge. If I can find a photograph of it, I'll insert it round about now. I'll imagine it would have been levelled to provide access for tractors to the nearby farm, as tractors got bigger, of course. The the canal bed here is, well, almost dry. There is a little bit of water in it, but there is water just the other side of the road. We'll go and have a look at that now. So I've now come over that farm track or tarmac lane where the site of the original Park Lees Bridge would have been here on the Thames and Severn Canal. And as you can see here, this part of the TNS is actually in water. It's one of the very few sections of the TNS that's in water for much of its length after it's left the town of Stroud. So it's good to see it's in water here just outside the village of Ewan. There is another bridge, or rather there was another bridge in an easterly direction from this point here on the Thames and Severn Canal, and that was called Thurstonlees Bridge. See if we can see any of the remains of that by having a short walk over there now. Now I did try walking on for about 1/4 mile with lots of bramble, with the towpath, the former towpath of course, getting increasingly blocked. So I wasn't able to get to the site of Thurstonlees Bridge, but if I can find a photograph of that, I'll insert that round about now. But while I'm here and the sun's come out and things are starting to warm up at this section of the Thames and Severn Canal just outside the village of Ewan, I just thought I'd tell you a little bit about what's been happening with the missing mile. Okay, so strap yourself in because this is going to start to get a little bit complicated. Now, about a week ago, I did update 14A, just to give you a little recap. That's what's been happening at Westfield Lock, John Robinson Lock, which of course has had lots of restoration over the summer thanks to the Waterways Recovery Group. And in that video I told you a little bit about what's been happening. In fact, I mentioned that there was going to be a planning meeting. I can't remember the date of it, I'll put that in below. Now the first thing to say is that planning meeting never happened. There was going to be a decision date and it has since been deferred. In fact, I've since learnt it was probably decided to defer it earlier on in October. Why has it been deferred though? Well, I'll explain. Now the Cotswold Canals Connected project, that's a mouthful isn't it, to connect the network or the canal connected up to the network at Saul from where it is at Eastington is quite a complicated operation, not least of which to get the canal underneath the M5. But there are lots of other planning involved. In fact, if you go back to that 14A update, you'll see that work has already taken place at the stadium for Forest Green Rovers. They've now started putting in their football pitches and they'll be starting to build the stadium on the opposite side of the A419. That's not all the planning that's taking place there though, because the plans are to build a marina with a cafe and a domestic dwelling, all in that land between where I was at John Robinson Lock and the M5, all in that land there. There are a number of agencies involved in that, not least of which councils like Frampton-upon-Severn and Eastington Parish Council, as well as Stroud District Council, Gloucestershire County Council, the Environment Agency and Highways England, yes of course because it goes underneath the M5. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in various links in the bottom of the description of today's video, which will take you over to Stroud District Council's site, which is to do with the planning of all of the missing mile. And then there are some 550 documents within that that are linked to that planning application. Yes, it's getting really, really complicated. In fact, Eastington Parish Council actually did a reply recently at the end of September saying they didn't think that the planning for the marina and everything else should be involved in the planning for the canal, because it's making it rather complicated and is holding the process up. And I tend to agree with Eastington Parish Council on that. I think we just need to go ahead and get the canal done. Now, two major things to point out is one, the response from the Environment Agency, and also the response from Highways England. Of course, Highways England are involved because the canal will be going underneath the M5, utilising the existing bridge that carries the M5 over the River Frome. Now, they haven't declined the planning for the canal, they haven't turned it down, but what they have said is they have a number of drainage concerns to do with the towpath and also overspill from when the River Frome is in full spate, and I thought this would be a concern. So there is going to be a revised plan to go back to the planning board again to see what additional drainage can take place to get the canal through without it interfering in any way to the floodplain and the management of the drainage of the M5, because the last thing we want is a canal to go through and for some reason causing problems to the M5 and making their drainage system not work, and the M5 will be completely covered in water, causing hazardous conditions, because obviously it is a major part of the UK's infrastructure. And of course that motorway didn't exist when the Thames and Severn, or rather the Stroudwater canal, did exist. So you've got two conflicting things there. However, I'm still confident it can be worked out. The other thing that the highways agencies have concerns about is the management of the nature, because the Cotswold Canals Trust have got plans to plant lots of trees, and they have very specific stipulations about what trees can and can't be planted in the area of the M5, because they can grow really, really strongly, and if it gets near to the foundations of the M5, it can cause a little bit of a hazard. Now, the Environment Agency have many concerns before they'll finally sign off the plan for the canal itself, again because of drainage and flood, and I'll put a link to their document. It's far too detailed for me to cover in this short update video, but you'll be able to read that. So I think what's going to happen is that Cotswold Canals Trust and Cotswold Canals Connected are working with it. They're kind of a bridge group that work between the Cotswold Canals Trust charity and Stroud District Council. They'll go back and do some revised plan on the drawing board before the whole thing can then be reconsidered once again for planning. If I have any more news, of course, I'll either bring it as a short update or in my next full canal update. I hope that makes sense. I'm sure you've got as many questions as what I have. It probably doesn't answer all of your questions, I'm sure, but have a look at those documents before you start asking questions in the comments section, because it is really, really complicated. But I hope I've given you some information as to why the whole of the restoration of the missing mile has been delayed. Now, before we continue here on the Thames and Severn Canal, my next stop-off point is going to be South Cernay. I'm going to hand you over now to developments that have been happening around the village of Ebley, which lies just to the west of the town of Stroud. So I'm here just to show you a number of improvements that have happened on the canal since update 14. And this is the first one, where a place called Dudbridge, at about a mile to the west of the town of Stroud, outside the Lidl supermarket. And as you can see here, they've created a new access point off the towpath into the car park and to the main entrance to the supermarket. So anybody walking from the town of Stroud, which is down in that direction there, can walk along the towpath and nip into the supermarket and the other facilities around here as well. So that's a really good idea. Conversely, you can also have it stretch your legs if you're going shopping and driving to Lidl here as well. But yeah, so this is a really great facility. Let's just have a look at it in a little bit more detail. So there we go, Lidl supermarket. Just a short stretch from Lidl supermarket in the direction of Ebley and Ebley Mill is another improvement on the towpath. Let's go and have a look at that now. No, it's not that bridge there, that's Hilly Orchard Bridge here at Ebley. So I've literally just come, well, less than a quarter of a mile, I guess, from Lidl back there at Dudbridge. Stroudwater Canal is there on my right, and what we're looking at is the bridge that is just up ahead. So this is the footbridge here. It's sometimes known as Ebley Confluence Footbridge, and the reason for that is because there's an arm of the River Frome that kind of links into the canal at this point. So you have in effect what acts as a spillway here coming off the canal, or excess water coming off the canal down into the River Frome. And that original channel would have been cut through to provide water for all of the mills in this part of Ebbsfleet here. And you can see there the enormous stack of Ebbsfleet Mill, which is now no longer a mill, but the headquarters, or rather the offices, of Stroud District Council. So you can see here the excess water flowing out of the canal at the moment. We've had a lot of rain yesterday, so that's why there is so much water coming off the canal. It's like a regulatory flow for the water level here, and it's going down there into the River Frome. I have to remind the new footbridge here, which is great. All the work that's been going into that was a rather rickety affair there. This towpath section between Stonehouse and Stroud on the Stroudwater gets used a lot. Hand you back now to the eastern section of the Thames and Severn Canal. So it's good to see those couple of improvements there, particularly that footbridge. It was getting rather rickety to Ebbsfleet, not far from Ebbsfleet Mill. Ironically also, that's the headquarters of Stroud District Council. Done some sterling work to get that in. They had to close a towpath for a short period of time, but it's really good to see that fully in place now. And also that little bit of work by Lidl there, that little kind of a slipway, wasn't it, between the towpath, and give people extra access point to appreciate the canal there at Dudbridge. So now we're going to go over to South Cerney, more specifically the Cotswold Water Park, because they have a new visitor centre there. There's also a couple of locks there I want to show you and tell you a little bit more about the history of the Thames and Severn Canal at that side, and also see if I can find where the eastern depot is of the Cotswold Canal Trust. So now I've come around to South Cerney. I'm actually at the Cotswold Water Park's Visitor Centre. Parking here is free of charge. It's a great place to come. There's plenty of places to eat. There is a restaurant next door, so it's just a little bit away from the main car park itself. You'll come to this new visitor centre, which is run in conjunction with the Cotswold Water Park and the Cotswold Canals Trust. I've just had a look inside and asked permission to take some photographs around it. They sell books, have a more limited range of what you find at, say, Stonehouse or Brimscombe shops, but they do sell those, and it's a good visitor point so anybody has any questions about the Thames and Severn Canal and also the wider Cotswold Water Park, including things like nature and the birds that you would expect to find here, then come in here. At the moment it's only open weekends. I've just checked the opening times. Currently during the weekends it's only open between 10 and 3, although they are looking for more volunteers so they can expand the times that they're able to open and offer information to the many visitors. I say many because the car park here on this Sunday morning is nearly very full, nearly completely full. I had a difficulty finding a space, so it's a very well used site, and it's great to have this Cotswold Canals Trust Visitor Centre here, the eastern section of the Cotswold Canals. Now the Visitor Centre has this fantastic balcony as well, so you can actually go through glass doors, open the doors, go onto that balcony, and you have a wonderful view across this lake. The gentleman that showed me around was showing some dragonflies as well, lots of birds. Sometimes you'll see perch in the lake as well, so it's a great place just to have a look at the views across the lakes, as well as finding information about the Cotswold Canals. Wonderful new addition to the facilities of the Cotswold Canals. I've just come round to find the eastern depot of the Cotswold Canals Trust. Forgot my words then. Yeah, they used to have it at a site not that far from there, and it changed hands in terms of ownership. They were paying like a peppercorn rent of £1 a year, and they were then charging them £2,000 a month for a place with a leaky roof, could you believe? So found brand new premises here. Now I'd struggled to find where this is. It's actually off a place called the Cotswold Agricultural Centre, which is off the junction of the A419. Got the intersection there for the Spine Road that takes you into the Cotswold Water Park, but you don't head down towards the visitor centre. You take off a minor road to a place called Driffield and Latten, and then you follow that and then turn right. You'll see places like Mulvanley Farmers and Class, I think that's how I pronounce it. They sell agricultural machinery. Anyway, this is the place here. It's not open today. I'm here on a Sunday. This is the place also where they sell the logs from as well, from cutting up wood as they're clearing the land to keep the towpaths and the canal clear. But yeah, one shiny brand new eastern depot of the Cotswold Canals Trust, here right next to the Gloucestershire and Wiltshire border near the village of Driffield. What we're going to do next, we're going to go head down and rejoin the Thames and Severn Canal now, and we're going to have a look at both of the Wildmoor Way locks, the one that's been restored and one where there's been a little bit more that's been happening in terms of clearance over the past few months, and that's where I'll wrap today's little update up. So here we are back on the Thames and Severn Canal again, just the other side of the Cotswold Water Park. That's the canal there. And behind me there is Wildmoor Way Lower Lock and Wildmoor Way Lower Lock Bridge. We'll have a closer look at those now. So I'm now standing under Wildmoor Way Lock Bridge, so that's the bridge there, and there you can see the lock itself, which was actually restored by the Cotswold Canal Trust's fantastic volunteers back in 1997, some 25 years ago. The Wildmoor Way Lower Lock Cottage, which just is above there, was also restored, I think around 2005 to 2007. I think it's a bit confusing because I think it was partially done by the volunteers from the trust, but it's now a private residence. But we will have a quick look at it anyway as I ascend the steps there for the lock. Now both Wildmoor Way Lower and Upper, this is lower, don't forget, drop the depth, or the height, should I say, of the canal by 3.5 metres. What's that? It's about 11 foot in old money. The upper one, which is the one we're going to see, because that's the one that comes under the restoration, as we'll see shortly, that was actually changed, and it reduced the height on that one because they added in later on another lock at Boxwell. The reason the lock was added at Boxwell, it was Boxwell lock and feeder, is because they wanted to get more water into the canal because of the notorious problems the T&S had with keeping water inside the canal walls. Now the section between Wildmoor Way Upper and Wildmoor Way Lower is a beautiful tree-lined section of the Thames and Severn Canal here. We're making our way to the upper lock, which has been restored in recent months. We're going to have a look and see what work has been carried out there. And one of the things that's easily missed on the shortish walk, about a 10-minute walk between lower and upper Wildmoor Way locks, is this remains of this humpback bridge which crossed over the Thames and Severn Canal here. Demolished long ago, but still this abutment of the bridge, red brick there, distinctive red brick of the T&S, is still visible by the side of the towpath. This is Wildmoor Way Upper Lock in all its glory here in this open section. Some of it was cleared recently, some of it was cleared before, but the vegetation in this part of the T&S is so verdant it's already grown back again. But as you get a good indication of what this lock would have been, as I said, it was raising the height originally 11 foot, but then it was reduced because of the lock that was built later on to add additional water into the canal. So we're now at Wildmoor Way Upper Lock, and no, this isn't a tunnel that I found, a long lost tunnel of the T&S like we found at Newnham Bridge in Worcestershire on the Leominster Canal last month, but it's the remains of a spillway adjacent to the towpath. The towpath is just there, canal's the other side of that. It's quite an extensive spillway here. I'll just show you around that before I show you the lock. So we've got good extensive stonework and brickwork remains of the spillway here at Wildmoor Way Upper Lock. That's tremendous to see that by the towpath there, and I think it was dug out by volunteers a few years ago now to preserve the site. So this is Wildmoor Way Upper Lock, and as you can see at some point the lock fitting there, which of course originally would have been wood, has been bricked into the fashion of what the lock gates would have done in a diagonal formation, and that would have been done at some point, probably, well, definitely after the canal closed, probably in the 50s or 60s, to hold water in this section of the canal. So that's it for today on the canal series of the Stroudwater and Thames and Severn Canals update number 15. Now, if there are any breaking news on what's happening with the planning with SDC and the missing mile and get it connected to the network, I will launch a video, a separate video, so it'll be 15A or 16A, whatever it'll be, and that'll land telling you all about it. I'll bring you more information though in update 16, which will probably land in about 3 months, so probably into New Year, into January or February of 2024. I hope you've enjoyed this tour today of what's been happening on the Stroudwater and Thames and Severn canals, the Cotswold Canals, and I'd just like to thank all of the Cotswold Canals volunteers for all the sterling work that they do, and also the Waterways Recovery work for the fantastic work that they've done as well over the summer at Westfield / John Robinson Lock near the village of Eastington. Until next time on the channel, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you soon. All the best for now. Bye bye.